Desires are like the waves of the ocean. They keep crashing against the shore of our mind, but in the end, they only leave us with the pain of unfulfilled wants. This profound quote from the Bhagavad Gita encapsulates a truth that resonates deeply with many of us. No matter who we are, where we come from, or what we believe in, we all have desires. Yet, Krishna teaches us that our desires, as enticing as they may seem, often lead us down a path of suffering. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Monk Mind. We're diving deep into a powerful and transformative concept from the Bhagavad Gita, the idea that all desires ultimately lead to suffering. Krishna's wisdom in the Gita is timeless, and it's remarkable how relevant his teachings are to our modern lives. We'll explore why desires can become a source of pain and how, by understanding this, we can find peace and joy in our daily lives. Let's dive into this together. Let's get real for a second. We all have desires, right? From the mundane to the profound, desires are an inherent part of human existence. Whether it's wanting that new gadget, the perfect relationship, a successful career, or even just a slice of pizza that looks way too delicious to resist, desires constantly influence our decisions. But here's the kicker. When we chase after these desires, they often leave us feeling dissatisfied, stressed, and ultimately suffering. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you thought to yourself, if I just get this one thing, then I'll be happy? And then, you get it. You feel a rush of satisfaction, maybe even joy, but that feeling fades, and soon, you're left thinking, what's next? It's a vicious cycle of craving, temporary satisfaction, and then the inevitable return to wanting more. This cycle of desire can be compared to a hamster wheel. You keep running and running, chasing after something just out of reach, yet no matter how fast or how long you run, you never really get anywhere. This constant state of yearning can create anxiety, stress, and a feeling of emptiness that's hard to shake. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that the root cause of this suffering lies in our attachment to desires. When we become attached to the outcome of our desires, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Whether it's material possessions, status, relationships, or personal achievements, when our happiness becomes dependent on external factors, we relinquish control over our inner peace. And when those desires go unfulfilled, or even when they are fulfilled but fail to provide lasting happiness, we feel frustrated and disheartened. In today's world, where consumerism and instant gratification are glorified, this message from the Bhagavad Gita couldn't be more important. We are bombarded with advertisements telling us that we need more to be happy, more money, more possessions, more experiences. But the truth is, chasing these external sources of fulfillment often leads to dissatisfaction, not contentment. Let's break this down. You might want that shiny new phone, thinking it will improve your life. And yes, it might, for a short while. But soon enough, a newer model comes out, and suddenly, the satisfaction you once felt disappears. You're back in the same cycle of wanting, acquiring, and inevitably, suffering when the novelty wears off. This is a challenge we all face in life. How do we break free from this endless cycle of desire and find true, lasting happiness? Now that we've identified the problem, let's dig a little deeper into what Krishna says about desires in the Bhagavad Gita. One of the core teachings of the Gita is that desires, while natural, can cloud our judgment and prevent us from seeing the bigger picture. When we become consumed by what we want, we lose sight of our true purpose and the deeper, more meaningful aspects of life. Krishna teaches that the nature of desires is deceptive. They create the illusion of fulfillment, leading us to believe that if we just attain what we want, we'll be satisfied. But in reality, desires are like a mirage in the desert. They promise relief but ultimately leave us thirsty for more. The more we chase after desires, the more we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The Gita encourages us to practice detachment from our desires. But what does that really mean? Detachment doesn't mean giving up all desires and living an ascetic life without joy or ambition. Instead, it means cultivating a mindset where we are no longer controlled by our desires. We can still have goals, dreams, and aspirations, but we are no longer dependent on their outcomes for our happiness. Consider this. Instead of focusing on what we want to achieve or acquire, we shift our focus to the process itself. When we become detached from the outcome, we free ourselves from the anxiety and stress that come with desire. This allows us to enjoy the journey, to live in the present moment, and to find peace within ourselves, regardless of external circumstances. This practice of detachment is not easy, especially in a world that constantly tells us to want more and be more. But it is essential for finding true fulfillment. The Gita reminds us that real happiness doesn't come from external achievements or possessions. It comes from within. When we shift our focus from chasing desires to cultivating inner peace, we begin to experience a deeper sense of contentment and well-being. Here's a real-life example to illustrate this point. Think of someone who is constantly striving for professional success. They work long hours, sacrifice their personal life, and pour all their energy into climbing the corporate ladder. They believe that once they reach a certain level of success, whether it's a promotion, a raise, or recognition, they will finally be happy. But when they achieve their goal, they realize that the happiness they sought is fleeting. Soon, they find themselves chasing the next goal, and the cycle continues. This is not to say that ambition or striving for success is wrong. The problem arises when we attach our happiness to these external achievements. When we place our self-worth in the hands of success or material possessions, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Krishna's teaching on detachment offers a way out of this cycle. By focusing on our actions and letting go of the need for specific outcomes, we can find joy and fulfillment in the process, regardless of the end result. Another key aspect of Krishna's teaching on desires is the importance of selflessness. When we are driven by selfish desires, we become trapped in a never-ending cycle of wanting and dissatisfaction. But when we shift our focus to serving others, we tap into a deeper, more fulfilling source of happiness. This idea is beautifully illustrated in the concept of karma yoga, one of the central teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Karma yoga is the path of selfless action, acting without attachment to the fruits of our actions. When we live and work with the intention of benefiting others, rather than simply fulfilling our own desires, we align ourselves with a higher purpose. This shift in perspective not only frees us from the suffering caused by desires, but also brings us closer to our true nature. Take, for example, someone who volunteers their time to help others. They may not receive any material reward for their efforts, but the joy and fulfillment they experience from making a positive impact in someone's life far outweighs the temporary satisfaction of fulfilling their own desires. This is the essence of karma yoga, finding joy and fulfillment in selfless action without attachment to the outcome. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Krishna offers us a powerful insight into how we can overcome the suffering caused by desires. He encourages us to shift our focus from what we want to what we can give. This shift in perspective can be life-changing. Think about it this way. When we're constantly focused on what we want, we become narrow-minded and self-centered. Our world becomes small, revolving around our own desires and needs. But when we shift our focus outward, when we think about how we can contribute to others, how we can serve and uplift those around us, we open ourselves up to a much larger, more fulfilling experience of life. This shift from consumption to contribution is key to breaking the chains of desire and suffering. When we stop measuring our worth by what we have or what we achieve, and instead focus on how we can make a positive impact in the world, we begin to experience a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Consider the story of a successful entrepreneur who, after years of chasing wealth and success, realizes that despite all their material achievements, they still feel empty inside. They decide to start giving back to their community, using their resources and skills to help others. As they shift their focus from acquiring more to giving more, they begin to experience a profound sense of joy and fulfillment that they never found in their pursuit of wealth. This is the power of shifting our focus from desires to service. When we begin to view our lives through the lens of contribution, we free ourselves from the suffering caused by desires. We start to realize that true happiness doesn't come from what we have, but from who we are and how we connect with the world around us. Krishna's teaching on desires is not just about avoiding suffering. It's about finding a deeper, more meaningful way of living. When we detach from our desires and focus on serving others, we align ourselves with our true purpose. We become less concerned with what we can get and more focused on what we can give. And in doing so, we experience a profound transformation in how we live our lives. This transformation is not just about feeling good. It's about realizing our full potential and connecting with the world on a deeper level. By letting go of the need to fulfill every desire, we become liberated from the bondage of constant craving. Instead, we align ourselves with a greater purpose, one that transcends our personal wants and allows us to experience lasting fulfillment. So, how do we apply Krishna's teachings in our everyday lives? It's one thing to understand that desires lead to suffering and that detachment is key to freedom. But how do we practice this in a world filled with constant temptations and distractions? Here are some actionable steps we can take to integrate these teachings into our daily lives. Practice mindfulness. The first step is to cultivate awareness of our desires. Often, we act on desires without even realizing it. By practicing mindfulness, we can start to observe our thoughts and desires as they arise, without immediately reacting to them. This gives us the space to question whether the desire is truly serving us, or if it's just another fleeting craving that will lead to more dissatisfaction. Detach from the outcome. As Krishna teaches, we should focus on our actions, not the fruits of those actions. This can be challenging, especially in a goal-oriented society. However, by shifting our mindset to value the process rather than the outcome, we can reduce the stress and anxiety that often accompanies desire. For example, if you're working on a project, instead of obsessing over the result, focus on doing your best at the moment. The more you practice detachment, the less power your desires will have over you. Shift your focus to service. One of the most powerful ways to overcome the suffering caused by desires is to shift your focus from what you want to what you can give. This doesn't mean you have to abandon all your personal goals or desires. Rather, it's about balancing your personal aspirations with a sense of service to others. When we focus on making a positive impact, we often find that the fulfillment we were seeking from our desires comes naturally, without the need for external validation. Adopt a gratitude practice. Desires often stem from a sense of lack, a belief that we don't have enough or aren't enough. Practicing gratitude is a powerful way to counteract this mindset. When we regularly take time to acknowledge and appreciate what we already have, we cultivate a sense of abundance rather than lack. This helps us break free from the constant need for more and allows us to find contentment in the present moment. Develop a spiritual practice. Finally, cultivating a spiritual practice, whether through meditation, prayer, or contemplation, can help us stay connected to a deeper sense of purpose beyond our desires. When we regularly tap into this higher awareness, we start to see that true happiness doesn't come from fulfilling our desires, but from aligning ourselves with our spiritual nature. To conclude, Krishna's teachings on desire from the Bhagavad Gita offer a timeless lesson that can radically change how we approach life. Desires, as natural as they are, often lead to suffering when we become too attached to their outcomes. Yet, by practicing detachment, focusing on the process, and shifting our attention from what we can get to what we can give, we can break free from the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. The ultimate message is that true happiness doesn't come from satisfying every desire but from cultivating inner peace and contentment. This is a message that is particularly relevant in today's fast-paced, consumer-driven world, where we are constantly encouraged to want more and be more. But as Krishna reminds us, the key to a fulfilling life lies not in the pursuit of external desires, but in the cultivation of inner peace, selflessness, and detachment. I hope this exploration of the Bhagavad Gita's teachings on desire has inspired you to reflect on your own relationship with your wants and needs. Remember, the path to true happiness is not about suppressing desires, but about understanding them, practicing detachment, and focusing on living a life of service and purpose. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content on spirituality, mindfulness, and personal growth. Until next time, stay peaceful and stay purposeful.